As we focus on returning back to school all week, there is so much to talk about. Now we're going to have a conversation with the person who helps shape all of the education in Michigan. That is the state superintendent. Right now, Michael Rice is fighting for more in-person learning, pushing the state legislature to pass a budget and keep funding free school meals, and looking for ways to improve reading scores across the state. One idea is to reduce class sizes for some grades. We're going to start there with Dr. Michael Rice, the superintendent for the state. Thank you so much for joining us. The thought process behind reducing, the class sizes and improving scores is all going to be tied to budget.
Well, we'll be tied to budget. First of all, thank you for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity. We need lower class sizes in high poverty K-3s. There's research associated with it. We've had a grant in this area in the past in the state. We need to return that grant to the state budget.
So I know it's common sense, but can you kind of lay out a little bit more how a smaller class size means more one-on-one time with the teacher, and then how the scores can go up from there?
Well, the research shows that teachers have not only better experiences in full group, but also the opportunity in small group and one-on-one with young people to really focus in on those early literacy and early numeracy skills that young people need to develop as foundations for the rest of their educational experience.
Something else that has been a hot topic, and I know you've been working on pretty diligently lately, is the change in law that kind of allowed professional development time for teachers to count as instructional time, which helps their schedule, but what it really is doing is taking time away from the kids in the classroom, and you've been trying to change that.
So professional development is hugely important. We're supportive of it in the department. It should be compensated in local school districts. At the same time, however, it shouldn't be a substitute for in-person student instructional time. We need that in-person student instructional time with our young people, but we also need the professional development. The one shouldn't tug on the other. The professional development shouldn't take away from the in-person instructional time.
So currently, and my numbers could be off here, but you were saying that the goal is about 180 days of instructional time per school year. Is that right?
Well, statute says a minimum of 180 days, but it's not what children experience. Children experience far less. They experience the adverse impact of weather, snow, ice, a water main break, but then they also experience, since 2019, these professional days, which are an incursion into their calendar. And finally, most recently, the state legislature permitted 15 virtual days to count toward the 180. We know those are inferior to in-person days. We went through a pandemic. We saw it firsthand. Our legislature needs to roll back these two elements. The professional development days counting as student instructional days, effective 2019, and then the virtual days, 15 of them, that are permitted to be counted as in-person instructional days, effective 2023. We've chipped away at time that students have with their teachers. It's not acceptable. It doesn't help us get done what we need to get done with and for our young people.
So is the answer to that issue then, again, tied to the budget, so you can pay teachers for the professional development while not taking away from actual classroom time?
So a lot of this turns on budget. The days are embedded in budget. Of course, the dollars are embedded in budget. The legislature is a month and a half late. It looks like the budget is going to move into September. The holding up of the budget adversely affects students and staff because our school leaders become risk averse, and on the margins, they hold back on those last hirings to decide to wait to see if they are able to afford them. And that doesn't benefit the school children. We should have our hiring complete by now, ideally, but minimally, we should have known for the last month and a half, 2 months, where we are with budget in each of the 824 local school districts across the state.
Right, right. Okay, we are going to take a very short break here. When we come back, we're going to spend more time talking about the budget because I'm sure you could do that to fill the entire show. So we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. We're still here with State Superintendent Michael Rice. Michael, thanks again for joining us. I want to spend some time here talking about the budget because I don't think everyone realizes how adversely this is affecting our schools. Yesterday, we had 4 superintendents here on the show, and there was a palpable frustration amongst them, which I can understand. I'm sure everybody else can, and I know you can. You were a district superintendent long before you became the state superintendent. Can you kind of walk us through what that does to not only the budget for the district, but for the planning of the school year, not to know what dollars you have to work with and how that trickles into the classroom or doesn't?
Sure. So the dollars drive the planning in good measure. And to not have a strong sense of where the dollars are going to be adversely affects the planning for students and staff. It used to be back in the day that we didn't have a budget until late September. At the same time, however, the governor's budget, the House budget, and the Senate budget were pretty close to one another. The same is not true currently. The House budget is very different from the Senate budget and the governor's budget. There's a huge range. It's the greatest range I've seen in my time in public education, 40 years. The consequence of this is that local school superintendents not only don't have a budget, but they don't have a narrow range that they can count on and plan on to serve students and staff.
Well, which I would assume must be the most frustrating part, because we have heard from some lawmakers saying, well, they have a basic idea of what their budget's going to be. It sounds like they don't.
I tell you, I mean, I did this again for more than a minute. Local superintendents do not have that narrow range with which we used to work prior to 2011. Prior to 2011, budgets were completed in September, but again, narrow range. We knew what we had to plan with, to plan for. The same is not true now. For the last 14 years, we've had budgets that have been approved in June, signed into law in July, provided a lot of opportunity to plan well for students and staff. It's simply not the case in 2025. It's not simply my opinion, although it is. It's the opinion of local school superintendents. It's the opinion of local school board members. It's the opinion of local business officials, local teachers. This is a problem. Look, the base funding in many districts is pretty similar year to year. But on the margins, what you have additionally to improve instruction is unclear year to year. It's a function of the budget. And until you have a pretty strong sense of what that budget's going to be, it's hard to plan. And you're going to be risk averse in many cases, which means you're not necessarily going to add that third grade teacher at a given school, or have that after school program, or continue that universal meals program. I'm not suggesting these are necessarily the best decisions, but these are decisions born of a risk aversion, born of the absence of a budget.
So to kind of highlight this a little bit so people can understand better, the core foundation of, let's say, an elementary school that we're talking about, just as an example, they kind of have a basic idea of what their basic budget is, but it is the extra paraprofessional, it is the extra social worker, it is the band teacher, or all the things that make school fun and make kids want to go to school and help them through the process. Those are all the things that are in taboo right now.
Well, those are things that may be up in the air in a given school district, but also that teacher in a given school, in a given grade, who can reduce class sizes. So you may have in a given school district, in a given school, 60 kids with 2 teachers, 30 kids a class in second grade. Too many. You should not have 30 kids in a second grade classroom. But there may be districts that roll with 30 times 2 because they're not sure that they're going to have the money to hire that third teacher and to split those classes in order to have 20 kids in each of 3 sections of that second grade in that school.
Oh, okay. So this really could be affecting not only the child's experience, but the level of education that they're able to get because of it. Okay.
Without a doubt.
Dr. Rice, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate this. And we should note, congratulations on retirement, because this is it for you. And I know it's not tied to the budget, but I'm sure you're pretty frustrated by it.
Well, I am frustrated by the budget, but you know what? I've appreciated the opportunity. It's been an honor to serve Michigan public school children. I'm going to run through the finish line on October 3rd. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for all that you've done, spending your entire career as an educator in some shape or fashion. So thank you again.
Thank you.
As we mentioned here, the superintendent is retiring from that position. The State Board of Education, they've selected 3 finalists to replace him. They will be interviewed at a public meeting next week. They are Dr. Lisa Coons, a former Virginia State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Dr. Glenn Maliko, who is a superintendent of the Dearborn Public Schools, and Dr. Judy Walton, Superintendent and Curriculum Director for Harrison Community Schools. The board hopes to have a new superintendent for the state in place on October 4th.